Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm gonna need you to brace yourselves for this absolutely diabolical TikTok wedding drama.
She starts screaming at me.
The bride is sick.
I literally cannot walk.
The wedding where everything went wrong.
If you're worried that your wedding is going to be a disaster, it can't be worse than my friend's wedding. She decided to have a super small wedding, like 30 people, including family and the bridal party. She had it out on this little farm that had like a barn where people could eat and dance, and then they had a little wedding chapel, and then they had a little honeymoon suite. And it was really cute. It wasn't even 30 people. I feel like it was only 20, but that's fine. That doesn't matter. So we go into the chapel, and they have the shortest ceremony ever. Which again is fine. Everybody appreciated that. But I mean, they literally walked in, went, do you? Yep. Do you? Yep. Done. They walked out. They go outside. It's super hot. It's summer in South Carolina. The bride is the only one that has to stand out there in the hot sun the entire time. Even the groom didn't have to be in every picture. So she finishes the pictures. They still have to do just bride and groom, but they're going to do those later when the sunset's happening. And now we all go into this big barn where we're going to have dinner, and it's super delicious. And then there's a best man speech, and then there's a maid of honor speech. And then the bride gets super duper sick. She runs to the bathroom and she's throwing up, and she's super hot, and her face is flushed, and she's sweating like crazy. And we're having to like unzip and take off like her wedding dress in the bathroom. We're putting like cold stuff on her neck and on her wrist, and she's trying to get it together because like her wedding just started. Like the entire ceremony was literally like less than 10 minutes. So the wedding, the thing that she's really looking forward to is this reception. So basically all she's gotten to do is eat. So she's in there for a while, and then she cools down, and I run out and I tell the DJ, go ahead and start the music. Well, it's not a DJ. It's actually a playlist that we stayed up all night making. So I get that going, and I'm trying to get like some of the 20 people to dance. And we've got to get Cynthia back into her dress, fix her makeup, and get her out by the sunset to take pictures with her husband, because she still hasn't had pictures with her husband for her wedding
Stressed
day.
out.
But we can't barely get out of the bathroom because she keeps having to run back to throw up.
Stop.
So I get like one of those metal champagne bottle ice holder things, and I'm like, let's go. And I get some wet cloths and some ice, and she can't even stand up. So they pose her laying on the ground, like leaned up against her husband with the sunset behind her. And she's just like laying on his chest because she's literally dying, but she actually looks super gorgeous in the pictures. But in between every picture, I have to run over to her with the champagne bucket so she can puke, and then put a little ice on her wrists and her neck. Then she takes another picture, and again, the pictures looked amazing. And then I run back with the puke bucket. Then they finally get enough pictures. Her dad is like, all right, I'm calling it. And I was like, I think she wants to push through. And he was like, I was in Iraq and you can die from heat exhaustion. Her dad is 5'2", but he is scary. I'm taller than him. He is scary. I was like, sorry. Anyways, we take her back inside and she's throwing up. And so basically people are like starting to leave. And again, there's only like 20. So like only a few people have to leave before this is disastrous. Like everybody that came has to stay the entire time for this wedding.
Okay, sorry. I need to make some notes. I need to write some notes. Okay. I do get heat stroke. Do not do at your wedding. Do not take pictures outside in the heat for an extended period of time.
So I run out there and I'm like, guys, the bride is sick. She's gonna come out and try to do her father-daughter dance, or no, she's gonna do her first dance with her husband. She really wants you to stay. So everybody kind of comes back and sits back down, and she comes out and she looks great, and they start doing their dance, their first dance as husband and wife, and they look gorgeous.
Okay.
And about 15 seconds in, as everyone's circled around her watching her, she runs off 15 seconds into her first dance and goes and throws up.
At least she didn't puke on him. Like, honestly, could be worse. Could be worse.
And after that, everybody really does go home. So she rushes through the ceremony. I mean, I am not exaggerating in any way. They walked in and then they did the classic to have and to hold, and that was it. Nobody sang, nobody gave a speech. There was nothing, just that and out. because she was like, I want to keep that short. Everybody finds that part so annoying. It's always so long and terrible.
It's
We're
true.
not doing that. Short, short, short. And then we're getting to the party. That's going to be the fun part. And all she gets to do at the party is eat. And then she's sick and sweating. She tries to do that last dance, but she's too sick. And then everybody leaves her wedding, and that's it. That's the end of the wedding. That was her wedding day.
Oh my gosh.
But guess what? Her and her husband are the best couple. They love each other more than any couple I have ever seen. They have an adorable daughter. They're so freaking happy. And they do not care about that wedding. She was like, man, I feel like my wedding is ruined, and she cried a little bit, but like she is over it in an instant. Because the whole point was for her to end up with who she loved, and she ended up with who she loved. So
period.
Now it's a funny story.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, so another one. Do not have long ceremony. You will annoy people and get heat stroke. No, but these are valid concerns. At least her wedding was like super, super small. Like it doesn't sound like she went like all out. If you're in a situation like this and you're super, super sick, imagine losing like tens of thousands of dollars. I'm really happy that there was a happy ending. You know, she didn't really take it to heart too much, and now she has a very happy marriage. The wedding day is important, don't get me wrong. Everybody puts a lot of pressure, but at the end of the day, it's like to celebrate the marriage. And the marriage is the important part, the relationship, not the party. I mean, we'd like to think it. I do like to plan a party.
We like to party. We like to party.
Like, what do you even do if you have heat stroke? I feel like the only thing I've been able to do, like I've never had a heat stroke like that, but I have felt like very faint before. I have issues like, let's say hiking in the heat because like I can't handle the heat, or like I have issues in saunas because I can't handle saunas for longer than like 5 minutes. I don't even know what you would do, like take an ice bath, but you're puking. I don't know if there's anything you can do. Let's look it up. Yeah, I feel like there's also times where you might have to like literally go to the hospital. Like Okay, speaking of ending up in the hospital on your wedding day.
So I had a destination wedding in Cabo, and the day before, all of us met up at the pool before the welcome party. My cousin came up to me and she was like, hey, can you take a picture of me? I'm the girl in the friend group in the family that's always the go-to picture taker, video taker. But I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. This is my wedding weekend. So anyway, an hour passes, and then I go back to that same cousin. I'm like, hey, can you take pictures of me? She's taking pictures of me. Everything is fine and dandy, and I actually get a fire pic. And then me being the nice person that I am, I was like, all right, let me just take a picture of you. So I start taking the picture of her, and of course I'm going above and beyond trying to get this fire pic for her, and I step on a cactus. No! It just hurts so bad. So the doctor and the medics at the hotel come running over because they actually saw that this happened, and they get one or two of like the cactuses out of my foot. But unfortunately, there were still little pieces stuck in my foot, and they were not able to get them out without making an incision. The doctor at the hotel recommends that I go to a hospital ASAP. Obviously, I want absolutely nothing removed from my foot. I don't want my body touched the day before my wedding. So I was like, this is not happening. I'm gonna be fine. And I was in fact not fine. After the welcome party, I take my shoes off, and me and my fiance at the time were going up to our room, and I go, Ray, I literally cannot walk. I am limping back to our hotel room after our welcome party, and now like panic sets in. He's just trying to calm me down. He's like, Gab, it's okay. He gives me ice. We like elevate my foot, all of that fun stuff. And then it's about like 12 o'clock, I would say, and I'm not feeling any better. Ooh. Finally, at about 3:34 in the morning, I wake up and I'm like, all right, I gotta go try my wedding shoes on, because if I can't walk in them, I am going to die. And I in fact cannot walk. I'm literally limping to the closet. A couple more hours pass. I text our concierge to send the doctor back to our room. So the doctor comes back to our room, and he's like, hey, you know, I told you should go to the hospital yesterday. And I'm like, okay, do I have enough time? Like, I have to start getting ready at 12 o'clock for the wedding. And I was like, all right, let's just go. We're going. At about 7 o'clock, we head to the hospital. I'm literally being pushed out of the hotel in a wheelchair on the morning of my wedding. So I get there, the doctor comes, he examines my foot, and he basically tells me that he is not going to recommend me taking it out. It most likely will push itself out over time. He did say it was starting to get infected because it was super swollen. Drugs? So I got an anti-inflammatory, antibiotic, and then also pain meds that were going to help me literally survive the entire day. Got back.
Drugs are bad. You shouldn't do drugs.
Got back at about 11:30 after picking up the medication and the hospital, and that was perfect timing for me to shower and then be ready to sit down for my hair hair and makeup. But at that point, I still couldn't walk, so I was kind of just waiting for the medication to kick in. And then at about 2 o'clock, it fully kicked in. I was fine. My foot still hurt a little bit, but I was able to walk, thank God. And then I just had to retake the medicine right after our ceremony. Everything worked out. It was
good.
Absolutely crazy. I still could not believe it happened. Obviously, like, I'm laughing now, but I was literally hysterical. Like, this was not funny. And now my husband wants to get cactus tattoos and I want to kill him. That's my story. Everything worked out. My wedding ended up being the most perfect day ever,
good.
but that was definitely not expected, not fun, but it all worked out.
Where's the list? Do not take photos of people on your wedding day. Look out for cacti. I'm taking notes, guys. Like, I got a list. If anybody else has a list of things to avoid, things to be wary of that happened to you on your wedding day, give me all the tips. I love that you ended up like going to the hospital and they still told you that, like, yeah, sorry, there's nothing we can do, but here's some drugs. Hey man, even if they couldn't take out the little spike, at least they gave you what you needed in order to carry on with the wedding day. Because like, yeah, like, come to think of it, you get like, you know, like a sliver or something, or your body does like push foreign objects out. It can't handle it. It like physically pushes them out.
We should take the cactus spikes and push it somewhere else.
I think it's like what we call a defense mechanism. That's why when you get breast implants, sometimes your body's like, I had a friend that had breast implants and she ended up getting them removed. And when I tell you, her eyes used to have this like strange glaze over them. Like they were like perpetually like red. And as soon as she got the breast implants taken out, her eyes like went back to normal. So I genuinely think that was her body trying to be like, get these out of me! How I was uninvited from a wedding. So I think we've seen the following clip before, but we haven't seen the part 2. So if you've seen this clip and you want to skip ahead, my lovely editor will put the timestamp on the screen where you can skip ahead to. But I honestly love this story so much that I want to hear it again. Because I got more to say. I don't even know if I was engaged when I had heard this story before. So now I'm hearing it from like a different... Things have happened since then, okay? Let me just say that. So you want to see talk, stick around. If you want to skip ahead, this is the timestamp.
Do you want some tea? Like some serious tea?
Yeah.
Story time about how I got uninvited to a wedding. A couple of years ago, I was friends with this girl and we weren't just friends, we were really good friends. Her hen's party was hosted on Hamilton Island. To attend, everyone who went took 2 days off work and spent over $1,000 in flights, accommodation, and other things. I would have been fine with spending that amount of money if the weekend was fun. However, the weekend was just spent walking on eggshells. This chick was a total bridezilla. This girl was on like some weird power trip. Things really escalated on the last night where the girl decided to put a phone ban in place for our dinner. She said that we were specifically allowed to take photos. She just didn't want us sitting on our phones throughout the dinner, like editing photos and stuff, which is understandable, but also we're adults. Don't ban us from using our phones. At the dinner, another close friend of mine started taking photos of me and the bride. All of a sudden, the bride loses her. She's like, stop taking photos of me. I don't even want these photos. They're going to be gross anyway. I said there was a phone ban. The poor girl that was taking the photos ran to the bathroom crying, and I ran to the bathroom after her to console her. When we got back to the table, no one would talk to us. It's as though we'd been completely exiled from the group. The bride started going on about how embarrassed she was that half of the bridal party had been crying in the bathroom throughout her dinner. Mind you, no one in the restaurant knows nor cares who we are. For all they know, we're in the bathroom taking... Anyway, the bride continues to say that she's so embarrassed that we have to leave dinner immediately. We call 2 cabs. Me and my friend, who I'd comforted in the bathroom, get in one, and the rest of the party get in the other. We agreed to meet at this specific spot in town, but when our cab rocked up, we realised that the other cab wasn't there and the girls were nowhere to be found. We started calling them. We're like, what's going on? Where are they? No one would pick up their phones. Eventually, the bride's mother called me and I was like, oh, thank God. A responsible adult who isn't going to act like a child is calling me and I can have a reasonable conversation with her. Quite the opposite happened. The mother was like, where are you? And I was like, I'm at the spot that we said we would meet. And she was like, oh, well, like, we're not there. And I was like, Well, obviously, because I'm here waiting for you, so where are you guys? All of a sudden, her tone totally changes and she goes, are you using attitude with me? I was so exhausted by this point. I was like, yeah, I am a little bit, because you guys said you were going to be here and now you're not here and no one's answering their phone and I just want to work out where you guys are. And she goes, you will not be staying in our apartment tonight. You will be staying in the other apartment. I was very confused and taken aback. At this point, I just wanted to get my key, go home and go to sleep. But I couldn't do that because the other girls had the key. I ended up walking along the Esplanade, finding the restaurant that the girls were at. I thought that by that time, everyone would have simmered down a little bit and I could pull up a seat and we could act like normal adults. But again, I was wrong. I pulled up a seat next to the bride. The bride literally turned her head, put her hand up to her face and would not talk to me, as though it was the most embarrassing thing ever.
Okay, so listen, on the one hand, I can understand a bride being somewhat annoyed if there's unnecessary drama, people kind of making a scene at her bachelorette, unrelated to something that she's done, okay?
Hey, this was supposed to be about me.
If it's just a weird, they got really drunk or something like that, it's kind of I don't know. Sometimes I feel like people need to kind of put their drama aside for a bachelorette or for a birthday or a situation in which they're not the center of attention. Sometimes it's just it's not worth it.
Just suck it up, buttercup.
This day is not about you. But the whole reason why this girl was making a scene, so to speak, was because of something that the bride said. Because she was being a I wish I could say that, I've only ever heard about these things happening in videos, but I've been in situations like this before. Multiple situations like this. Not only situations where people are crying and making a big deal and starting fights and drama and stuff at someone's bachelorette party, and me just kind of being like, everyone keep it together. But I've also been on the other side of things where a bride has been very controlling and never happy and just hates everything that people do for her and is very controlling about the whole shebang. So I've seen both sides of the same coin. That's why I'm not having a destination bachelorette. I'm just not doing it. I'm not putting myself in this position anymore.
I started to publicly apologize in front of the group. I was like, look, babe, if you think that I was, choosing my other friend over you when I went to the bathroom to console her, that's not what was happening. I just wanted to make sure she was okay. All of a sudden, the mother gets up and says, I'll handle this. She leans across the table, she's pointing at me, and she was like, how dare you upload a photo before my daughter at her hen's party? And I was like, what? All of a sudden, this fight is about Instagram?
Wait.
The mother was genuinely concerned that I had uploaded a photo before her.
That's why the bride didn't want you guys taking photos or on your phone.
This is about me.
People are so predictable!
Mind you, everyone else at that table had uploaded photos before her. I didn't understand that this was a protocol. If it were, she should have said so, and I wouldn't have uploaded before her, but in the same breath, the photo that I uploaded, it had nothing to do with the hen's party itself. It was just a beautiful scenic shot. Long story short, me and the other girl weren't allowed back into our apartment that night. We were told that we had to sleep in another apartment, which other girls had been staying in the previous night. We slept in dirty sheets. We weren't allowed access to our clothes, our makeup wipes, clean underwear. Oh, a toothbrush, that would have been helpful. Nope, we weren't allowed that either. The next day, I knocked on the apartment next door and apologized to the bride. She took me out to the balcony where she starts screaming at me. I tried to apologize and she starts screaming at me going, Amy, I shouldn't have to treat you like a dog. I shouldn't have to treat you like a dog. And say, Amy, do this, do that. You should already know that uploading a photo before me at my hens is not okay. I was shocked and appalled by her behavior. Never in my life has somebody spoken to me like that. It was vile. To make matters worse, her mum had booked my flight there. She had booked all of the travel for everyone. So I wasn't even sure if they were going to be adult enough to give me my ticket to get home. So I was stressing this entire day about whether I was going to get home or not, whether I'd have to book myself a whole new flight because they were that petty. Part 2 of how I was uninvited to a wedding and the meanest thing a girl has ever done to me. Here's the tea. So I finally get home from the hen's party from hell. The next day I'm at work and I get a call from the bride. I'm thinking, okay, this is either going to go one of two ways. Either she's going to apologize or she's uninviting me to the wedding. Keep in mind that this girl knew that I'd booked my flights. Not only that, I'd booked my first ever business class flight. I'd bought a dress for $650 and I'd paid for my accommodation. Another, say, $500. Despite that, I pick up the call and she goes, hey, Amy, so I've been thinking about what happened over the weekend and I just don't think I'd feel comfortable having you at the wedding. My response was, oh, thank God. Being stranded on yet another island with you is my idea of hell. Good. Of course I'm not going to your wedding. I couldn't think of anything worse. I said, your behavior on the weekend is beneath me. She starts screaming back at me. She's like, it's not beneath you. It's not beneath you. And I said, no. Your behavior is beneath me. I would never treat another human being like that. Goodbye, catch you never. I then hung up the phone. I blocked her. I blocked her family. I blocked some of her friends. And I never spoke to her again. However, after the fact, I found out that she'd been telling people why I was uninvited to the wedding. Apparently, she'd made up this story about me some guy on a yacht, which is not only super shamey, but also completely untrue. Clearly, she was embarrassed about her behavior and didn't want to tell her friends what actually transpired because it would have painted her in a really bad light. Anyway, safe to say, I don't miss her, and that was definitely the meanest thing anyone has ever done to me.
Oh my God. Honestly, it is a good thing that you weren't invited to that wedding. So you mean to tell me that this all started because the bride had a meltdown about someone taking her picture. The girl starts crying, goes to the bathroom because she's probably like mortified, like,
oh my God, I've just ruined this girl's bachelorette. Like,
you go and you check to see if this girl's okay. And now you have been exiled. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yep.
I just wanted a little recap on the events that have transpired. Listen, I understand that you spent a lot of money on this, but imagine having to give her a gift after all of that.
Okay, as a wedding vendor, I just had a first situation and I've been venting to my boyfriend about it, but I need to vent to the wedding vendors of TikTok about this because it is so odd to me. It's never happened in my life. I booked a bride back in the spring. She's having a wedding tomorrow. It's Tuesday. I live in Maine. She lives out of state. But she came off so sweet, so nice. She paid the booking fee right away. It took her a while to sign the contract, which was a little weird to me, but she paid the booking fee like right off the bat. So I wasn't really too concerned. It was a Tuesday. I'm like kind of relaxed about weekday weddings. She eventually signed the contract. It was like 7 people, including her for hair and makeup. I was going to bring along a second stylist. It was great. We kept in touch and they had planned a trip up to Maine like a month ago in mid-July. So she came into the salon. I did a hair and makeup trial. She paid for the hair and makeup trial. They were the nicest couple I've ever met. So nice. It was just one of those, I'm like, this is going to be such an easy wedding because she was so easygoing. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. They leave, we stay in touch, whatever. So then maybe about 2 weeks ago, she emails me and lets me know that the bridesmaids have decided they're going to do their own hair. So if we could adjust the contract and the invoice to be for her hair and makeup and then makeup only for the girls. And I was like, I'm like, just so you know, like per my contract, I don't generally allow changes within 60 days just because, again, I'm usually relaxed about this stuff, but when I'm bringing along a second stylist, like they're taking time, like they could have booked another wedding or they're taking time out of the salon to come to your wedding. It's our means of income. So like I need to touch base with my second stylist first before I can give you a definite yes or no. Touch base with her, totally fine. So I immediately emailed her back. I was like, hey, just touch base with her. It's no problem. We will adjust that. Here's the adjusted invoice number. I'm going to, because I'd already sent the invoice, because I send my invoices 3 weeks before the wedding, and they're due 1 week before the wedding. So that gives brides like 2 weeks to, make sure. I understand sometimes we're not checking our phones, emails, whatever. She never responded to the email. And in that email, I was like, here's the adjusted invoice number. And I still need a getting ready address because it was like a private residence or an Airbnb or something. So I'm like, I still need the address of like where you're getting ready so I know where to go. She never responds to my email. And then the invoice date, like the due date comes up, and I sent in Square, you can send a reminder and you can see if they've opened it. I sent it and she opened it. She saw the reminder and she didn't pay it. And then this was just last Tuesday, so 6 days ago. And then on Thursday, she still hadn't paid anything. So I was like, emailed her. I was like, hey, your invoice was due 2 days ago. And again, I have a late fee where it's like after a 24-hour grace period, it's $25 a day if you're late. I've never in my life charged late fee because I understand things happen. Sometimes we just miss things, we forget, we have no service, life's busy, I get it.
And it's not just that, like life's busy, et cetera, but leading up to the wedding, like I'm not making excuses for the bride, just to like put it into perspective. I have maybe about like 15 payment reminders in my phone, like at various times, because you have to pay, second deposits, third deposits on different dates for different vendors. And like, think about how many vendors you need for a wedding. The venue, you need the welcome party venue, the food, the music, the other music, the photographer, the videographer, the makeup artist, the hair artist, like the flowers, like all of these other things. You're having to like remind yourself all the time. So in this case, it's like, yes, life is busy, but also leading up to a wedding, there's lots of other things that people are paying for too. I actually appreciate the reminders. I appreciate that you reminded her.
So I was like, hey, this is due 2 days ago. Can you please have your invoice paid by the end of the day tomorrow? So I was like, I'll give her some time. Nothing. And then I emailed her again yesterday on Sunday, and I was like, now your invoice is 5 days late and I still haven't heard from you. I still don't have a getting ready address from you. I was like, per section 2.14 on my contract.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna have to add a late fee for, I have the 24-hour grace period, so I said for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So I had on $75. I was like, I really need the getting ready address and payment in order to do your wedding. Can you please get that to me ASAP? Nothing. So then I just texted her and I was like, hi.
What is happening?
I was like, I've been trying to reach you via email. Your invoice is now 6 days past due. I still don't have a getting ready address. If I don't hear back from you, like, I will not be at your wedding tomorrow. This will be my final form, like, my final time of trying to reach you. Thank you. And when I tell you my anxiety, because I still haven't heard from her. I'm getting ghosted.
You still haven't heard from her?
And I just don't, like, if maybe a financial situation came up and they're just trying to save money where they can.
Things happen, okay? Change your mind, financial situations, you have to communicate. You have to communicate. It is your job to communicate with people who are booking time off for your wedding and putting your wedding in their calendar. Wedding season, there's only like 12 weekends in a summer.
There's 104 days of summer vacation.
If you don't follow through, they could have booked someone else. You have to communicate. Like, even if you did change your mind, I don't know, sometimes people will let you out of the contract. You shouldn't, but like sometimes people will do it. The fact that she's just ghosting you, like, that would just make me so mad. I'd take her to small claims.
I don't know. I'm like, did I do something wrong? Do you not want me there? Have you decided to just, everyone's doing their own hair and makeup? Like, if you don't want me there, that's fine.
Just say it.
If you ask my boyfriend, I have a hard time communicating in my relationship, but in my job, communication is key, especially as I just want open communication. If you don't want me there, just tell me. If you decide you need to save some money, just be like, hey girl, we gotta save money where we can. We've decided we're gonna do our own hair and makeup and I won't need you there. Cool. I'm not like I know we do contracts, but like, I'm not a psychopath either. I'm a human and I understand things happen. So I'm just so flabbergasted. Like, has this happened to anyone else? I've definitely heard of hairstylists and makeup artists ghosting brides, but I've never heard of a bride within 2 weeks ghosting a wedding vendor.
Honestly, I don't really understand how you could do that if there was a contract. Like you signed a contract, dude. Like she's making the situation just so much worse by not communicating at all. I remember when I first like booked a makeup artist, they wanted an absolutely insane amount of money.
Hello, I like money.
To do my makeup and, you know, my friend's makeup and my mom's makeup, my mother-in-law's makeup, an absolutely insane amount of money. So I slowly started to scale back. It's like, okay, so maybe it'll just be my makeup and like my mom's makeup. And then I'm just like,
I honestly can't justify it. This is ridiculous.
like it's actually cheaper to fly someone out from Canada than to go with this Italian makeup artist. So I flip-flopped, honestly, maybe like between, like I feel like it was like 3 or 4 different, from them canceling to me canceling, like it was like 3 or 4 changes before I found one that worked. It is a thing. Budgets get out of control and it's like,
oh, I would love to gift everybody, you know, their makeup.
but then you start getting into the $10,000 for, you know, 5 people to get their makeup and hair done. And it's like, that is some money that I could save on other things. So I can understand from a bride's perspective how budgets can get out of control, but you gotta communicate. Especially if you sign a contract, dude, you gonna get sued. Anyways, to this creator, I hope you got a deposit.